Oh yes, we're doing this. Everybody say hello to Transformers Legacy Armada Optimus Prime, Transformers Legacy Armada Optimus Prime. Everybody. I feel like this is kind of silly for me to be looking at because every other channel under the sun has already looked at this figure, and I don't really think I can say anything new about it. But I'm going to talk about it anyway because it's cool. And I feel like I should preface all of this up front by saying that as I talk about this, this is a character slash figure that I have zero nostalgia and historical affinity for. So, like, I know Armada Prime exists. I actually had was it Energon Prime? The Bendy Prime, the one that was just the core robot and didn't do the combination. Like, I had the Nemesis version of that, but never had the actual combining Armada Prime figure, never got the fans hobby version, never wanted the original Hasbro version, really, because it was just, a kind of awkward looking combine mode that sat on top of a brick. But, this is cool. And so I want you all to keep that in mind as I talk about this thing and say lots of really positive things about it. This is coming from the place of someone who has, didn't care to even attempt to mess around with the original. So my thoughts on this are not colored by anything other than what this figure is. And this is extremely cool. Now, yes, obviously, the trailer is a bit of a mess, which is intentional. Like, this is part of the design. And when I say it's a mess, I don't mean it's ugly. I mean it's a mess. Like, if you look at it in terms of, say, a typical trailer for an Optimus Prime or regular truck, it's a mess. Like, you could kind of see a little bit of the gray box on wheels, or in this case, treads. But then it's got these like weird bits stapled onto the side and all this other junk kind of sticking out. And of course, the giant tread block on the bottom here. So yeah, it's a bit of a mess, but not in a like, oh God, that's horrible, what were they thinking way, just in a, if you look at it like it were a regular trailer, it's a bit much. As you can also tell, I've got the gun stored on top here. This is where the directions show to store it, but you could plug it in, anywhere else. There are adequate 5mm ports on the sides over here, that kind of thing. I have seen people plug the gun in here. Like, you can see there is a little peg hole there, and the gun does go, like, you have to take all this apart, which I'm not going to do, but like the gun does sit in there. The problem I have with that is it flexes this out and up ever so slightly. Like, it kind of pushes up here. It just doesn't sit flush. And I don't know if that's just a trick of my eyes or what, but because it looks like it's straining against the plastic a little bit, I prefer to just keep it up here. Also because it's much more easily accessible, so I can just pop it off. Like, if I want to transform the cab into the core robot mode, I can just flip down the little struts on the little pods here to have the trailer stand up, take this off, give this to the core robot when transformed, and I don't have to do anything. Like, I don't have to take the trailer apart to get to this. So that's how I prefer to do it. But for now, we're just going to put that off to the side. And yeah, I don't really know what else to say about the trailer. It's fine. It's got some nice detailing on it. There's a lot of nice detailing on the treads. And of course, it's not exact, but like the blue stripe here is absolutely evocative of the classic Prime trailer stripe. And then you've got the badges with the Autobot logo, which is oddly enough not embossed. Given the fact that this is a Commander figure, and this is obviously a place for a logo to go, you would think that this would be molded in and then painted, but it's not, which makes me wonder what they might intend to reuse this for, because a lot of people have said, and I'm inclined to agree, that like if they mold in an Autobot logo or a Decepticon logo, that kind of forces them to use the mold for that faction. So if this is just a flat surface, it gives me the impression that maybe they might try to use this for something else. I could be wrong. I have no idea what they could use it for. I mean, I'd totally be down for a Nemesis Prime if they did that, but other than that, I don't really know. But regardless, big ol' Autobot logo. And it's good, it's just the red on the gray. I feel like this could benefit from better contrast. The blue also doesn't contrast as well with the gray, but the blue is like it's a big enough chunk of blue that I feel like it doesn't really matter. The red, if you're really kind of like if you analyze it, you can see all the fine lines and details inside the Autobot logo, but if you're not really scrutinizing it, it does kind of bleed with the gray, just visually. And I feel like this could have benefited from either being a brighter red or having a white outline or something to that effect, but that's fine. But then you get some other details too, like the blue along here. You of course have these chunky pods that have some nice silver paint on them. And then around the front, you've got the red and silver for the gun thing. And the other side is the same, top is the same, back is this. And bottom, I will say, if nothing else, it does a decent job of hiding the fact that this turns into a robot. It's definitely not flat and solid, but it hides it-ish. And yeah, I don't really know what else to say here. I think this is good for what it is. I do think this could and probably will benefit with a little bit of extra detail brought about by like repro labels and stuff in the future. But just as a standalone thing, I think it's totally fine. And it's also very hefty and chunky. This is a dense, pretty hefty for what it is trailer. And as someone who hates trailers, that's like but unlike virtually every other Prime, well, actually literally every other Prime trailer I've complained about, this does something. It's like the Power of the Primes trailer in that it actually transforms into something that you use with the robot. It's not just, here is a trailer that you can unfurl into a bigger waste of shelf space or a bigger waste of shelf space. Instead, you can unfurl it into a bigger waste of shelf space that incorporates with the robot to make the figure itself a bigger waste of shelf space. That is an important distinction. But with that out of the way, put the trailer where the cab was. Let's take a look at the cab. And the cab is accurate, I guess. It is a little bit odd in how it feels very short. Like, it's just kind of squished down a little bit. It kind of feels like it should be a little bit taller. And then you've got just this enormous blue box along the back, which I don't mind the visible fists because this is covered up by the trailer. Like, when it's actually plugged in, you're not going to see those fists. So the fact that they're visible doesn't really matter to me at all. It's just that this is like 2/3 of the truck is this, and this isn't particularly visually interesting. Though I do appreciate that they did silver on all the rims. Now, the actual front cab section itself, though, is distinct. It reads as a truck cab, and they used completely clear plastic, not even tinted or colored or anything. It's just straight up clear plastic, and I hate this. Because again, what purpose does this serve? You're just looking inside and seeing junk. It doesn't show any details like the inside of a cab or anything like that. It just shows a bunch of folded up robot bits. This didn't need to be clear plastic. It's terrible. I hate it. Also, this didn't bother me at all when I got the figure until I watched Dr. Lockdown's video, and then it's like, oh gee, thanks, now I can't get that out of my head. Just this bit right here where you've got this nice red cab, and then this little section right here where it's suddenly gray and it looks like a chunk is missing. That's kind of annoying. I know that the as of this recording, it was shown, but it's not available yet. The DNA Design upgrade kit. It has some kind of flap thing that you can put there that fills in that gap, but I'm hesitant to go in on that set for a couple of reasons, not the least of which is that it's unclear if that filler piece stays in place between modes, or if you have to take it off and relocate it, or pop it off, transform it, and pop it back in, or what. If it can stay permanently affixed and fill in that gap, I'm much more interested, but we'll have to wait and see. But other than that, it is a decent looking cab. It's kind of a weird shape, but that's par for the course. It has a really interesting grille section, though. Like this bumper that goes across with these pipes, this kind of bit in the front here, along with the pseudo Telltale Optimus grille, the headlights that spread out from that. It looks good. I do kind of wish the lights themselves were something other than silver to just kind of stand out a little bit. And also there is a very small paint blemish on mine. You might notice there is a little bit of silver paint slop right up there. It's not the biggest deal, and I, at this point, can't really be bothered to try and take it off. I might in the future, but I don't care enough currently to try. And then besides that, got the molded lights on top, which I feel like could have benefited from some paint. Oh well. And this thing that slides because it kind of makes the cab look a little bit more full, and it makes it look like the cab line lines up more with the fists here, but it just seems like such an unnecessary detail. And you also have the nice silver smokestacks. Something I really like actually about the molding of these smokestacks is I really like the way that these pipes go down and they start to curve in a little bit. Something about that curve, how they curve into this piece, that really makes it look like they're coming out of this blue section. I just think that's really cool. Even though these are separate pieces and they just peg into place. And there's some nice detailing underneath there too, but I just really like that little bit of molding there. It looks good. So yeah, that's pretty much all I can say about the vehicle mode. It again masks the robot mode about as well as you could hope for what it is. Like you can see thighs, but that's about it. And yeah, as someone who has no affection for the old figure or character, I think that the truck mode is pretty cool for what it is. And I also appreciate like the, I guess, uniqueness almost of like something akin to a half-track tractor trailer. Half-tractor trailer? I don't know. Because you've got the chunky tires on the cab, but then the treads on the trailer. So yeah, it's an interesting design, if nothing else, but then that is kind of Armada Prime's thing, right? Now, size-wise, this is a Commander-class figure, or vehicle, so he's a bit large. Let's bring in some of our size comparison folks. There is Hotspot, Artfire, and Ova Prime, Samus, Burnout, and I don't really have room for him, so we're just gonna dangle Rotor Storm kind of right there, so you can see that the vehicle mode is pretty big. But unlike, say, well, actually, no. I was going to say unlike other commanders, but it doesn't really apply to other commanders. Unlike other primes, like even Holiday Prime. I love Holiday Prime, but that trailer just exists to get in the way. I do like that this trailer is, makes the vehicle large, but it still serves a purpose. Now, let's back you up a little bit and back the camera up a little bit because I want to do one more comparison before we do the most important one. Because I feel like we can't really look at Armada Prime without looking at Armada Megatron, because I have Armada Megatron. This is Legacy Armada Megatron. He will be next. in the lineup of videos, but for now we're just doing size comparisons. And yeah, with the trailer, he looks freaking massive next to Armada Megatron. So do with that knowledge what you will, I guess. But of course, the most important of all size comparisons, there we go, there is Legacy Armada Prime with the duck tank. And now we do the Transformies. So let's do the trailer first, just to get that out of the way. Now, ordinarily we'd take the gun off, but I already took the gun off, so we're gonna skip that part. Now, gonna do the base mode just to get that out of the way, and then we'll do the robot, and then so on. So first thing you want to do is fold up this piece and rotate it around 180 degrees. Disconnect this piece here. It actually plugs into these gold bits, and this is a thing I constantly forget to do, and I try to separate this out, and that's just not good. But you want to untab this. You can see little sections that this plugs into, and rotate that out. Then rotate it 180. Do you rotate this? Maybe you don't. We'll leave it like this for now. Next, going to separate before we separate the legs, we want to pop open these panels here, bring those up, then pop these panels out a little bit, and separate the legs that plug in here and here. So I want to separate that, just give it a little wiggle, bring that up, pop that out, bring that up. And now, let's see. Okay, now fold this. Let's straighten this out just so I can get this on camera. I want to fold this piece up, and this will tab into here. There are these little slots here and little tabs on the underside of this piece. So bring those down and tab it all into place. You securely hold that in. Fold these flaps down, rotate this all the way around so it kind of pegs into itself, and up like that, and then bring this up, and that will form like a mounted gun for the base mode. Now, can bring these legs up, and with these panels down, these panels will actually nestle right in here. So you just want to do that, and then this panel comes back down and tabs into the side here. And it is not secure, so that panel will pop out a lot, but it's okay. It's not like holding it up. The actual friction of the legs is holding it up. So there you kind of have the base mode, but at the same time not, because I believe you're actually supposed to do these bits too. So you want to take these panels, fold them out like that, then take these refrigerator boxes and you want to unpeg those, but those actually tab in here, so you want to tilt them up first so that tab comes out of that little channel. Then you can pull it out, and there's this double hinge system here, so you want to hinge this back in, and as you hinge this in, this tab will now go into this slot right there, and at the same time this tab here will tab in here. So you want to keep this piece as flat up against here as you can, so that when you bring this in and tab it into place, that tabs in there no problem, and then that will all be kind of locked together because that forms the combined mode foot. So there you can see how it's working out. So do that. Actually, no, I forgot to do the thing that the stock photographers do. You actually want to bring out these struts that were used as struts in trailer mode. Now these will swing in and tab in there. Okay, that was a mess. I'm sorry. So again, flip that out, untap that, swing it forward, and then make sure this is flat up against here. Tap that all together, bring that in, tap that in, and this is the default base mode for Legacy Armada Prime. You can see these just do not want to stay tapped in. And it's fine for what it is. If you really want, you can also take the rifle and like tab it in up here or elsewhere, give this gun like more stuff to do. I wonder, can this actually tab into the big peg here? It cannot. Okay. Good to know. But yeah, there you go. There is the base. It's fine. It's better. I will say it is better than the base mode we got with Commander Class Menasor, or rather Motormaster. Also because you don't really have to parts form anything, but it's fine. It's a splooted out robot. It's gonna be not the best, but for what it is, it's okay. And it takes up less of a footprint too than Menasor or Motormaster's base. So there is that too. And now the cab. But before we do the transformation, I forgot to do the typical annoying thing. So we're going to do the typical annoying thing first. If you like this video or any of the other videos that I've done on the channel and you want to support that in a monetary capacity, I have a Ko-fi set up, which there's a link for in the description, or I have a Patreon. So if you want to do a subscription-based thing, it's just there's a single $1 tier for the Patreon, and that $1 a month gets you early access to new videos, so you can watch new videos before everyone else. So with that out of the way, oh, also, sorry, if you want to support the channel without spending money, you can always like, comment, share, subscribe, etc. So yeah, now let's transform this cab into Optimus Prime. So you want to slide this piece down, and then we'll do the legs first. So going to, on the underside here, want to untab these flaps. And with those tabs, with those flaps untabbed, you can fold down the toes and then put the flaps back in, and they will tab back in. And there we go. Now you can take the wheel sections here and untab them. They actually tab in right up here, so unplug that. Swing this around, and there is a little tab here that doesn't really like tab into place, but it will kind of securely sit this little assembly there. And same deal here, swing it around and tab that in. Unfortunately, this one is flexed out just a little bit, so this one has a tendency to get knocked out of position while this one holds in place a lot better. I really, really want to be able to fix that, but I'm not sure how. I mean, I guess I could just kind of flex it in like this a little bit to try and get it to move in, and it seems to help, but it'll settle back out anyway. I'll deal with that later. You all don't need to deal with me dealing with that. Next, I want to bend these bits forward a little bit because you need to get these tabs out from in here. So do that, and that will free up the legs a little bit. And you can take these flaps and pop them out. They just tab in right here. Then bring back this piece, and you can bring the legs back down, split them, and bring them out. And there is the lower body all done. Very simple, but also very effective. And now, let's adjust because we have to do the taller portions. First thing you want to do for this part is these bits in the front. I always forget to do these, and these are very important to get out of the way. So you want to kind of pull these up, and they're on a double hinge right up in here. And I pop these off constantly if I'm not being mindful of where I'm applying pressure. So something to be aware of. But just hinge that up and out so you can see tabbed in, not or truck mode, robot mode. Then again, bring that up, bring it out, tab that in, and there we go. And that will give us the space that we need to disconnect the front grille section, bring that out, bring this down, and now this will all accordion together, tab there, and then this piece will tab over here. And I guess I got lucky because mine actually locks together really well. It's like, I know a lot of people had these like not tab in or pop up. I must have gotten a different batch because this one, it locks on, like it snaps into place. It stays there, which is great. So yeah, I guess I just got lucky. Anyway, with that done, can untab the obvious forearms from the sides here. Just bring the arms out, then swing that around and rotate fist. And there are the arms done. And lastly, this assembly here, just like the original, will untab or unsettle from, there's like this little nubbin here that goes over this little piece in here to kind of lock it in place for vehicle modes. So do that and then bring this down. It sucks that it doesn't do the same for robot mode though. That I feel like could have been done. Because as you can see, this likes to wiggle around when you're moving the arm, and I really don't understand why they couldn't have had this like lock into place somehow. It seems like it should, but it just doesn't. But oh well. And also the head, you can kind of tilt the head forward because you actually want to tilt it back a little bit so that it fits inside these little shoulder bits. But tilt the head forward, and there we go. There we have Armada Optimus Prime, just like the basic robot mode as the basic robot. And this is incredibly cool, actually. I really like the base figure, and I would not have been all that upset if we just got this. I've heard supposedly there's like talk of them doing a Nemesis Prime repaint of Armada Prime that is just this figure, and I will absolutely buy that if they do it. Because just as a standalone figure, this is incredibly cool. He looks fantastic. It's like the proportions are great. They will have an impact on the combined mode a little bit, but like the core robot mode looks really, really good. Like the thighs and legs don't seem super out of proportion like they tend to be with figures like this. The arms are maybe a little skinny, but I think some of that is just owing to the way that they did the colors here. And like these tires like don't quite sit in far enough so that like this looks like the arm with like the tire on the outside, so it makes the bicep area, the shoulder area look really thin. I feel like simply painting this little spot right there black so that it just visually matches with the tire would go a long way to making this part of the arm look thicker. Though we might get a repro label thing for that, I don't know. And yeah, it's really cool. The paint on this is also good. You've got some silver in the shins that, at least color layout wise, evokes classic, Optimus Prime shin vents. The blue to gray to blue, it keeps the visual interest in the lower body out, keeps that visually interesting. And then you've also got some gold off to the side with these side skirts. And I actually like the flaps down here. There's something about these big flaps for the hip skirts and the back that almost make it feel like he's got some kind of like flapping coat or duster thing going on, even though he doesn't. It's just the hip skirts, but it gives that feeling. The slightly angled wheels on the sides of the legs look cool, but they stand out enough that they feel, like they're not actually part of the leg, they're just on the leg. The arms, as I said, are a little skinny, but they look cool. Particularly, I like the forearms, how you've got the kind of two different lengths of the smokestacks that make it look more like a double-barreled blaster of different lengths, just make it more visually interesting. And the gold band on the forearm as well, that unfortunately doesn't go all the way around, but still, the detail is there. And then, of course, the gray fist, so there's a lot of color breakup going on up here. And then the torso is also full of detail and color breakup with like the silver midriff section, or the gray midriff section, but then the silver grill and light section with these newly revealed gold lights, because these were hidden behind this in truck mode. So that's really cool. I also really like the black stripes along the side. It just adds a little bit more visual interest to everything going on here. And then, of course, there is the head. But before we look at the head, this is an Optimus Prime, so let's look at the Matrix gimmick. Because, of course, he has a Matrix gimmick. Now, it's a little tricky to open because if you try to pull where the actual hinge is, you're just going to unhinge this section that folds out for the truck mode. Because it's more the hinge itself that holds this into place. The tabs just kind of act as guides. So what you want to do is push against one of these pieces, so you can see how this piece separates from here. So if you push against one of these pieces to hold it in place, and then use like a nail to get at this silver piece, then you can pop the then you can pop this out. Why are you fighting me? Okay, fine. We use a spudger, but I'm still holding this in place. So use the spudger to separate that. There we go. Because it's this piece that you want to separate. And that swings out, and there you have the matrix, or this version of the matrix. And it looks good for what it is, I guess. It's very flat, but I think that's kind of how it's designed. There's some nice molded detail on the inside of that panel, and it looks good for what it is. And now I'm going to close it up and never look at it again, because I just do not care. But I do care about that head, because it's a cool head design. It is very Optimus Prime with the blue helmet and the silver faceplate and the little head crest. So the head crest here is a different shape, but it's got a lot of more typical Optimus Prime stuff going on. In addition to the blue, you've got the little like antenna with the little bits kind of coming off the front, almost like, I don't know, microphones or something. But this design angles things back a little bit more, which gives it almost like a winged look, which is pretty cool. And it adds a little bit of thickness to the overall like width of the antenna. And it's also interesting because if you notice the shape, it almost looks like a spearhead or an arrowhead or something. Very angular, very cool. And the head crest, as I said, different shape, but still evokes Optimus Prime. And it is this gold color instead of the usual, I think it's like silver most of the time. But then you got the silver faceplate and the yellow eyes. And I believe people have talked about this, and it does seem to be the case that there is actually some dark blue painted in the area around the eyes to make those eyes pop more, and that is a very cool touch. I really like that. And he's got yellow eyes because that's what he had in the show, I think, and they pop really nicely. The thing that kind of stinks is the yellow eyes kind of blend with the gold, so it's not that big of a difference in terms of like colors and tone, but it's okay. Like I'm not bothered by it. It's just it doesn't stand out as much as it could if it wasn't close to the gold. Now for articulation, the head is on a ball joint, so it can nod up and down a bit and tilt left and right a bit and look left and right as much as you want. The arms can go all the way around and can go out to 90, and if this comes undone, you can go up a little bit more if you want. You've got a bicep rotation, and then you have 2 elbows, so you can bend there, and you can bend at that secondary joint. And you can bend them in different ways at different times, so you can get a pretty deep elbow bend out of that joint. You do not get a waist swivel, but because of how this thing transforms into the torso, that makes a lot of sense. Like on a mainline figure that's not like some kind of ridiculously engineered, overpriced masterpiece, I don't see how they could get that to work. So no waist swivel is fine. But to make up for it, you get a bit of an ab crunch. You can only really use the one click with how all of this is shaped because it's already butting against this piece, but that's still cool that you can get an ab crunch. And if you get the flaps out of the way, you can rotate the leg forward to 90 and back to just about 90 and out to just about 90, though that's the wheels getting in the way. So if the wheels aren't in the way, you can go out to 90. You get a thigh rotation. You get a 90-degree bend at the knee in either direction because of the combine mode. And then you also get pretty nice ankle tilts, and then you can waggle the toes up and down if you want. You can't really waggle the feet, but you can waggle the toes. So yeah, pretty posable. It's really the waist swivel is the only thing he's missing. And I think that is, as I said, perfectly reasonable given everything that this guy does and is expected to do. And just for funsies, we can give him his gun. So there he is with his rifle. And it looks a little big, but I think that's fine. And also it's, looks big because it's going to be on him in the combine mode. So there is that. And then if we bring the base back in and see how he looks with his base. Actually, let's put him behind this section here. So yeah, it's cool. I think the core robot is, I can't say the core robot is worth the price tag on its own, because as cool as the core robot is, it's not that cool. But this is fine. I personally, when I use, if I have just the core robot, I leave the trailer in trailer mode because it just takes up less space and can kind of double as like a riser for a figure or two because of its size. But it's cool that the option's there. And now let's try to awkwardly jam some size comparisons into all of this. Let's see how it goes. So here we've got Artfire and Rotor Storm. No, you don't wanna stand up. There we go. Rotor Storm. He is totally gonna topple over if I'm not careful. Ova Prime. Samus. And there he goes. And Burnout. Oh, Rotor Storm. You are frustrating me. Oh, there goes Ova Prime. This is going to be fun to clean up. Okay, there. There is everybody. So you can see that the core robot is actually kind of tall for a Voyager. Like, if I get all of these other bits and bobs out of the way here. And at this point, I'm just going to get the trailer, the base out of here, because I don't think there are that many people who care about the base as a toy versus like the actual robots. But there we've got the core robot next to a Generation Select Voyager. And yeah, you can see he is actually a little bit taller and a little bit beefier than a Voyager. I don't know if I'd call him leader class, but he's not small. He's definitely not small. Though what I would call leader class is Armada Megatron. And Armada Megatron, Legacy Armada Megatron, is noticeably bigger. So I guess it's fair to say this guy is like a very complex tall Voyager in terms of parts count and stuff, not actually like complexity of transformation. Whereas Megatron is just straight up a leader class figure. So there you have that. And lastly, and most importantly, there is the core Optimus Prime with the duck tank. Okay, let's make a full-sized combined Armada Prime. So we're going to take this thing and I'm going to try to keep as much of this on camera as I can. Going to rotate this piece around 180 degrees and it will click as it comes around. This can kind of fold in here. This red panel can fold up and sit like that for now. The legs these can untab if they haven't already and come down, and then this panel will flip around and tab in here. And same deal here. Now you can take this panel and fold it back. It was normally folded this way for truck mode. And then fold out the foot, and that will give you, or the toe rather, and that will give you the full-on combined mode foot. And that is it for the legs. So with that done, now we can fold this back down and unfurl this all the way. This will untab and just kind of sit up for now. And this comes down, fold these back around, and then this folds in, and these tabs here will sit in these little peg holes here. and that will just cinch up what will become the butt skirt. And with all of this, you want to make sure that everything here is like up. So you want these flaps up, you want this up, you want this tilted up, so that you can rotate this whole assembly around 180 degrees. Then these can come down, and this can come down and line up to make the waist skirt section. And that is it for the pants. So we'll put the pants off to the side and bring in core robot again. And we're going to take this off because we don't need it. Get the head back like that. Bring these back up for vehicle mode. Get those kind of nestled into place. Like so. This piece will come up, but it won't go all the way up. You just bring it up like that. Now, I'm going to keep these robot mode arms out like that for now. Going to rotate the legs, push in the heels, bring the legs forward a click just to get them out of the way so that we can bring the butt skirt back down and bring the hip skirts back in and peg them back together. Then we can split this entire assembly like so, rotate it out. And it looks like there's not room, but there totally is. It actually just comes apart really naturally and slickly. So rotate those out, then bring these down on what used to be the ab crunch. Let's bring those down, rotate the what are now biceps so that the wheels are on the outside. Then let's finish the arms. We want to untab these flaps again, fold in the toes, rotate the fists around, and then tab this back in here. So that tabs in there. And then you take the toes and fold them back around and in to fill in the gap on the back of the forearm, which is a very cool move that a lot of people have praised, and I myself am also praising because it's very cool. Again, flip that around, tap back in, flip that back into place to close that off. And there is that. Now, with the arms down, I feel like it's easiest to come at this while this section's open because it gives you more access to the combined mode head. But you want to pull this up and out. You might need to kind of pull these out just to make sure you've got clearance. And this will click into place so that it's parallel with the gray bits here. Now we can bring these arms up and they will hinge back like this, and they rotate in, and then this tabs into this gray bit back here to lock that in place. And with that done, you can also rotate the fist back around so that it's not visible. And I'll show it from here too. You want to hinge the elbow forward there and then hinge it back at the other hinge. And bring this up, bring it in, and tab it in there. So tab it in. There we go. That is nice and secure. And now these panels for the truck mode, you want to fold back into their truck mode configuration. So just push those back into place. There we go. And now we can attach the torso to the pants. The way we do that is this piece will slide in here. There's this little gap for it, and you want this section to go on the bottom. So slot that in, and you just kind of have to feel it. It's hard to show or even see as you're doing it, but you'll feel it go in and push it in the rest of the way. And now this red panel comes down and tabs in just behind the head on both sides. And that locks all of that to the backpack assembly. So that is not going to come off until you want it to. And I forgot to do this bit, so we want to do this too. You want to take this red piece and fold this up and all the way forward. Then push these bits in. So I'm going to push those in, and these clips will go in here. So push that in, tilt this up, get everything lined up, and then push that down, and then just push this down until you hear these bits click out. You want to make sure they're out, because if they're not out, you won't be able to push this up all the way, because they get in the way of this. So yeah, if this doesn't go up, these bits just haven't come out all the way. So there's that. And lastly, fold out the ear things, and that's it. There is Armada Optimus Prime in his super mode. And this is a thing. It is a big thing. It is a big and cool thing. I do get the criticisms about how he looks kind of bulky and blocky. Absolutely understand that. And similar to, what is it? Mech Hardball Pettenkrantz. Yeah, I know. Weird name. You can look it up. Similar to Pettenkrantz, you can actually offset the extremely flat shoulder line, because these gray transformation joints are still usable, so you can actually bring them up a little bit. So what I generally like to do is bring them up a click. And if you bring them up a click, it just adds a little bit more of an angle to those shoulders and makes them look a little bit less boxy. I mean, that's not going to do much for this, but it makes this, gives it a little bit more of a interesting visual line. And yeah, this is very cool. I still, for me, prefer the core robot in terms of aesthetics, but this is neat, and the transformation is actually a lot of fun. I've got to, I do have to kind of mimic, or not mimic, but reiterate what a lot of other people have said in their videos, how it's just fun to do. Like, I don't it's not that I dislike, I just don't have an affinity for Armada Optimus Prime, and even I'm just like, that is a good time. I really like that. And what we're left with is pretty cool. It's even relatively clean. Like, you got this bit on the back, but who really cares? It's, it's not that messy. And something I noticed actually is that if you really don't like this going on here, like this whole butt flap assembly thing, you can untab this, swing this up, and swing this up. You can basically just have it like this up against the back. You can rotate this around and like fold that up, fold this down like you're doing the base mode. So you can like tuck that up against the back, and it makes the backpack a little bit chunkier, but it gets rid of the butt flap from the front, so you don't see that at all. So it's something you can do to clean it up a little bit if you so desire. But again, it does stick out just a little bit more. I kind of don't understand what's going on here though, because this unplugs from here, but this doesn't really plug in anywhere else. Like, there might be one other spot that I'm not finding, but like this won't fit here, it won't fit up here, it doesn't fit here, it won't fit in the hands. So it's kind of like, why? Why is this a thing? Why does this come off? Because this peg is also like this peg is not 5mm either, so it's not gonna go into his hand. I just don't understand why. Like, I guess it's just for the sake of boxing it up, but it just doesn't want to peg in. Maybe can you peg it in here? Because I think I tried this already. But there's a peg down here. And this doesn't that doesn't want to fit either. I feel like this would fit, but there's not enough space for it. So yeah, it's just it's a whole lot of what? It's fine. I'm not like, mad about it. It's just, I kind of feel like they missed an opportunity with some of these connectors. But oh well, it is what it is. But yeah, it's a cool combine mode. There's a lot of decent breakup here. I think it's kind of cool too how the way that it's arranged. You've got blue, gold, and gray for pretty much, the legs and the arms, but then the torso is where all the red is concentrated. Normally, I feel like that would be a little bit weird, but here I think it works. It also doesn't hurt that you've got, you know, the blue and gold kind of surrounding it with like the limbs, the arms, the legs, the waist, the head. It's all around it. And you do get just a little bit of gold in the torso Autobot logo, as well as the a little bit of silver in here, and you've got a little bit of silver in there. So it's not terrible. It's something. But it does look cool. It's definitely a little bit bulky, but it's still cool. And it is big and hefty, and I love that you've got everything here. Like, you don't need any extra bits. You don't have to put anything off to the side. It's just that whole truck and cab can become this, and that is very cool to me. Now, let's take another look at a different head. And here is the Armada Prime head, which, again, looks really good. I dig the gold on blue, and I like that it's all gold, like the gold ear bits, the gold faceplate, the gold head crest. This head crest is very reminiscent of the shape of the head crest on the other Prime, so it kind of ties everything together. Then you've got the eyes, which I think they also did the dark blue around the eyes there, which is cool, and the yellow eyes. And I understand that the eyes are, if they want to be accurate to the show and toy, they should be red. And I'd be curious to try that, but I just haven't taken that leap yet because I don't really care about accuracy. But this also has the issue, not issue, but this also has the thing that the core robot head did, where the yellow kind of matches the gold a bit, so it doesn't stand out as well as I think it could. So the red might actually pop better. But it is an interesting design. I like the 3 or 6 exhaust pipes going off from the head. It's also kind of interesting how there's a little bit, just a little bit, that's evocative of the classic Optimus Prime, or the core Optimus Prime head. Like, just the barest hint of those ear spikes right before you get to these little vents here. I don't know, I think it's cool. And I also really dig the layered faceplate look. That's neat. Now, as for articulation, the head is on a ball joint, so you get a pretty decent amount of expressive side-to-side tilt, some okay up, and this is the thing that disappoints me about this. You've got this big Commander-class figure, and you can't look down. It just will not, because of how everything is shaped. You cannot look down with this head, unless maybe you reach back there and like pop that plate up, but I don't want to risk that because I don't know if that'll strain anything. So yeah, not being able to look down stinks, but oh well. And then you can also look all over the place. You can flare out the ears more if you want, get a little expressive with that. The arms can do a full 360, but if you angle them out like this, then when you rotate these around, they will bang into the pipes back here. So if you want to go around, you either want to bring this down so that they don't hit the pipes, or you want to unpeg the pipes so that they're not there for the shoulder to get caught up on. I personally like having the pipes there because I like the implication of like the classic Optimus Prime shoulder stacks, or shoulder exhausts. But I also like having these angled out, and so like this way you can get more dynamic with it. You don't have to worry about the pipes. And we can also use these in a different way later, so we'll just leave this off to the side right now anyway. And here is this thing being a problem. The biceps can rotate, the elbows can bend to 90 in either direction, just like the knees, because they are the knees. You do get a wrist rotation that's very stiff, but it does rotate, and it also knocks into the wheels. But if the wheels get out of the way, you can rotate it all the way around. And then the fingers open up, and it's like that. I would have preferred that they did something like they did with Skyfire or Jetfire, whatever you want to call them, but they didn't, and it's fine. More than anything, what bugs me is this being painted gold. I feel like if that was left the what looks to be black plastic color, then it wouldn't look like he's got some kind of roll of quarters stuck in his palm when you've got the fingers open, but oh well, that's what they decided to do. Oh, also, if you want to bring the arms out, they can come out on this joint in addition to this joint. So you can go out and up pretty far. Now, you do not get an ab crunch, but you do still get a waist swivel. The way that, I should actually show this, the way that it's attached, the swivel happens here, like this blue piece swivels below this other blue piece. So the hip skirts and the front skirt are attached to the blue piece. So if you want to rotate the waist, you have to get them out of the way. The butt skirt is attached there, so that doesn't move when you rotate that. So it's that's kind of annoying, but it's manageable. You can kind of work around it if you rotate the waist a little bit, then push everything back into place. You can use the rotational joint here to kind of angle it so that it doesn't look too out of place as it's rotated. But the more dynamic you get with it, the more weird it's going to look. But it's still, it's there. So there's that. The legs, we get these skirts out of the way again, the legs can go out to the side. These hips, the outward motion when I first got this was a little bit on the loose side, like these like to droop a lot, but it was really easy to fix. It's just, there's just these screws back here. I just tightened those screws. That's all it took. So if you get some, somewhat lackluster, loose outward motion with the thighs here, just try and tighten those screws and that should be fine. And as you saw, the hips can go forward and backward on a soft-ish ratchet. So you can go forward. Backward is very hampered by this thing, but if we get this up and out of the way, you can go back a little bit more, but it still bangs into that hinge. So even if you take this piece off, like this flap is still going to get in the way a little bit. You get a full-on thigh rotation, and then you get a 90-degree knee bend. Yeah, lots of things happening. Okay, and then for the feet, you get ankle tilts that can go quite a ways. And I also like this chunk being here because if you tilt the ankle a little bit, then it keeps that from showing like a huge cheese, like a pizza slice gap in the leg when you bend it. So I like that. And also while we're here, if you want to, you can untab these pieces and do like a knee cannon thing like the original toy. I just keep them up like that, but it's an option. And, nothing wrong with options. And of course, there is the gun, which we didn't actually look at before, so let's look at it real quick now. It is big and beefy and very, very vaguely reminiscent of the Ion Blaster, mostly because of this bit back here. But it looks cool. I do think it's nice. And also, you can incorporate these pieces with it. You can take these exhaust pipes and plug them in to the peg holes on the sides of the barrel. And because there's a little bit of a curve to the inside here and the outside of the thing here, when they're pegged in, they don't really or it's more that this bit kind of settles into here. But basically, when you peg them in, you don't have to worry about them rotating too dramatically. So you can do that and give them this big old 5-barreled blaster thing. Or if you want, you can peg them in the other way around, I believe. Don't know if I've actually tried this, but I think this might actually be how it came. But yeah, you can do that if you want. It adds some silver detailing to it, which is nice. But yeah, you can beef up the gun with the pipes a little bit, and it makes it look a little bit bigger. It still kind of looks more like a pistol in the combined mode hands. Well, that was annoying. I supposedly ran out of space, and even though I shouldn't have run out of space, it shows I still have plenty of space. And then it reset all of my camera settings. So my apologies if the lighting and color balance and whatnot is a little bit different now for the rest of the video versus how it's been up till now, up to this point, but it is what it is. Anyway, as I was saying, even with these bits, it does make the rifle look more beefy for the combined mode, but it still looks a little small in his hands. So, yeah. That's kind of, I guess, the downside to how this was designed, where you've got the gun that's like a little bit too big for the core robot, but then a little bit too small for the combiner. But then I suppose that's better than if it were way too big for the core robot and okay for the combiner, or way too small for the combiner and okay for the core robot. Kind of like what we saw with, yes, hi honey. Kind of like what we saw with Legacy Motormaster, how the sword that you got with Motormaster was just really, really tiny for Menasor, but a good size for Motormaster. But yeah, with all of that done, let's wrap this up. Astrid, I need that hand back. I have to grab my size comparisons, honey. She jumped up on... Oh, no, here we go. There we go. Okay. Yeah, sure. Let's do that. Show the internet your butt. Why not? Anyway, there is Heartfire. And Astrid, can you scoot your booty? Come on. And Rotor Storm, and Ova Prime, and Samus, and Burnout. Yes, hi honey. And Burnout. So, Astrid, you're specifically blocking my size comparisons. I need you to stop. Hey, come on. Yes, vacate. Come on, vacate. That is not vacating. Come on. Come on. Boy, she's just being a brat tonight. So yeah, here is... There we go. Here is Armada Prime with all the more typical size comparisons, so you can see that it's Commander class, so he's quite large when he is all combined up. And let's get all of these out of the way. Continue getting all of these out of the way. Work around the cat. This is my life. The life I chose for myself. This is the price we pay for having these little goblins. These little goblins that we love. And also, they kind of annoy us. And we wouldn't have it any other way, would we? Anyway, let's bring in Armada Megs. So there we've got combined mode Armada Prime with Armada Megs, and things look a little bit one-sided now, but that is how they stack up. I am curious to see if and how, presumably how, because the poster art implied as much, but I'm interested to see how the Titan class tidal wave for the next series will combine with Megatron, and see if that actually bulks him out and makes him bigger or not. We'll see how it goes. But there is how they all stack up. And then lastly, and most importantly, as always, here is Armada Astrid, can you... Hey, over here. There we go. There is Armada Optimus Prime with the duck tank. Okay. So with all of that out of the way, and with the cat finally out of the way, now that the size comparisons are actually done, that has been my exhausting look, not exhaustive, just exhausting look at Armada Optimus Prime. And as I said, as someone who has no fondness due to nostalgia or anything like that for the character or figure, this is incredibly cool. I do feel like I mentioned this in the Studio Series 86 Ultra Magnus video, how someone on Discord asked me between the two commander classes, Ultra Magnus and Armada Prime, which did I think was the better figure. I still feel like it really comes down to how much affection you have for one versus the other in terms of like character and, you know, what you think of the toy as you look at it in whichever mode you intend to primarily display it in. But with that said, I do think that Armada Prime overall is the more complete and fun commander class figure of the two. Not to say that Ultra Magnus is bad in any way, or by any stretch of the imagination, just that he is a little bit more entertaining because you've got two different robot modes. The transformation is very entertaining between all the different modes. The figure is just bigger, sturdier, chunkier, and the base mode exists. There's technically more play value, if you want to call it that. But yeah, I feel like if you're looking for fun more than anything, this is the commander class figure to get. But I've gone on more than long enough, especially because my camera decided I had gone on long enough before. So, that is all I have to say about this. What do you all think of Legacy Armada Optimus Prime? Whatever your thoughts, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all. Thank you everybody for watching, and next time, I know I don't normally tease stuff when it's not like a theme month, but yeah, next time we are going to be looking at Armada Megatron, because that's what I said.